A while back, I went to Walmart to get a grocery pickup for a friend of mine whose car was in the shop. The stars somehow aligned, and it was an evening where I didn't have a meeting or a class or a rehearsal, and I was happy to help. This was my first experience doing pickup at Walmart, and after driving around the parking lot trying to figure out where I was supposed to be, I finally got parked in the right area, and an employee came out with crates full of groceries. Together, we started putting things into bags and placing them in my trunk, and as we were doing so, I exclaimed, "Wow, that is a lot of water." There were maybe 10 or 12 big containers of water. I'm not sure what size they are, but definitely more than a gallon. The employee responded, "I might be surprised at how many people order this much water or even more." We continued putting groceries into my car, and for some reason, my brain just got a little bit stuck on what seemed to me to be an excessive amount of water. I made another comment about it. I'm not even sure what I said right as I was about to leave, and the employee that was helping me said, "That's not a lot. We could easily go through that in my house in a couple of days for my dogs." And I suddenly realized that this person and my friend didn't have safe drinking water where they lived. This was why I had 15 to 30 gallons of water in the trunk of my car. Feeling suddenly super awkward, I said, "I'm so sorry that you don't have clean water where you live," and I got into my car and I drove to my friend's house to drop off their groceries. But I thought about that exchange the whole way there and the whole way back, because saying, "I'm sorry that you don't have clean water where you live," felt so incredibly inadequate. What I wish I had said was, "I'm sorry that we live in a society where you and so many others don't have access to clean, safe water in your home. That the water that you do have, you don't even feel comfortable letting your dogs drink. I'm sorry that my own privilege meant that I was oblivious in that moment to what you were trying to share about your lived experience. I'm sorry that this culture continues to lift up the lie of individualism and the belief that those who have more are somehow more deserving than those who have less. Because it's not true. We all deserve to be safe and healthy and happy. We all deserve, at a bare minimum, to have clean water. I personally hate drinking water. When I do drink it, I almost always flavor it with lemon. Mostly I drink unsweetened fizzy drinks, and I think that stems back to my childhood and the fact that we lived in many different places, and almost none of them had good water. We had water that smelled like rotten eggs, water that left giant rust stains in the bathtubs and sinks. Sometimes it would even stain our clothing. Water that made it feel like your hair was never clean, no matter how much you rinsed. We drank a lot of juice and milk and soda when I was growing up. Sometimes we had Kool-Aid, but even now when I think about it, I can still smell that slight sulfur scent that was never quite masked by the Kool-Aid powder. My mom worked hard to try to lift us up out of poverty. She worked nights for a long time when I was a kid while going to school to become a registered nurse. The apartments that we lived in got nicer after she got her degree, but I was still suspicious of the water that came out of the tap. And I wonder, of the 9 or 10 places that my family lived before I graduated from high school, how many of them actually had water that would be considered safe to drink today? I wish I could have somehow communicated to that Walmart employee, whose name I never bothered to ask, that while I obviously didn't know all of their struggles, I did know what it was like to live someplace where you don't have clean, safe water. Water which is essential to life, which is a basic human need. I wish I could have let them know that I saw them. And this experience has reminded me yet again of how inextricably bound to one another we are. That whether we know one another well or never meet, we belong to each other, that the suffering of one is the suffering of all. We need one another to survive. And in a world that feels both more connected than ever before in history and yet more isolated, as the relationships that we form seem almost secondary to the other pressing needs in our lives, it can be challenging to remember the truth of our interconnectedness. There's a poem that I came across on social media a few years ago that continues to rise up for me because it so poignantly describes the way that I often feel. And before I share it with you, I want to acknowledge that I, like so many others, spend way too much time mindlessly scrolling through social media posts, looking for connection, for validation through likes and comments, but finding only increased feelings of separation. That, for all that this particular poem touched me, more often than not, social media lifts up our differences, creating more divisions than it does connections. Still, I share these words by Vinay Krishnan. They wrote, "There's laundry to do and a genocide to stop. I have to eat better and avoid a plague. My rent went up $150. I'll need to pick up more shifts. 20 people died in Rafah this morning, and every major news outlet is stretching the limits of the passive voice to suggest that whole families may have leaped up through the air at missiles that otherwise had the right of way. I just got a notification that my student loan payments are starting up again, and my phone isn't charged. My cousin got COVID for the 4th time and could no longer work or walk or feed himself. The person across from me on the L train seems to fashion themselves a punk rock revolutionary, but they're not wearing a face mask. And that's just the kind of cognitive dissonance that makes me want to steal batteries. Fascists keep winning from both parties, and I think I gained a few pounds. The CDC just announced that there are no more speed limits on highways, and I think this Ativan is finally hitting. The NYPD's farmers market only sells bad apples. Have you heard that one? Listen, it's warm today, too warm for March, but I don't have time to think through the implications because there's laundry to do and a genocide to stop. This world that we live in can so often feel overwhelming. There's a constant stream of information coming at us at inconceivable speeds. And not all of it's true. And we're expected to sort out fact from fiction while simultaneously making sure that the laundry is done and our bills are paid and not drowning in the grief of our lives pointlessly lost and the world going up in flames around us. And we're expected to do it all on our own and look put together and polished when we do so. We're being fed the lie of our separateness. We're told that the atrocities happening far away don't affect us, that all that matters is how much of our hard-earned money we get to keep versus how much the government is taking from us and how well the stock market is doing for those who matter. But your suffering is my suffering, and your grief is my grief, and the damage done to this planet is wounding us all. There's a phrase that we used to speak a lot at the Ithaca congregation that I've always loved. It's, "Here you are welcome, here you belong." I've been thinking a lot about the difference between welcome and belonging. When we offer to welcome people into our lives, our communities, there's this unspoken message that someone must be welcome because they are on the outside. We unintentionally convey the idea that this is our space, our community, and we are the ones deciding who will and will not be welcomed in. Belonging, on the other hand, is about creating spaces where our interconnectedness is the very foundation of the community. The word belonging actually comes from the prefix "be," meaning to intensify, and the word longing. So, as opposed to belonging, meaning to be a part of, it can also be understood as a deeper longing. What is it that you're longing for that brings you here? What deeper call of your heart is yearning to be met? How do we move past simply opening up our doors and welcome to creating what our souls are longing for, true connection. But we can't get there without a deeper understanding of our interconnectedness. Brené Brown says that true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. When we create spaces of belonging, we're inviting people to come in with their full selves. The idea of welcome can inadvertently communicate that people need to change, to fit in, to be a part of an exclusive community. And while we are a covenantal faith, one that centers the sacred promises that we make to one another, to be in covenant should never mean having to change who you are to fit in. It means that we promise to love all of the parts of you, and that we promise to transform together. Thich Nhat Hanh spoke at length about our interconnectedness. He called it interbeing. He said, interbeing is the understanding that nothing exists separately from anything else. We are all interconnected. By taking care of another person, you take care of yourself. By taking care of yourself, you take care of another person. Happiness and safety are not individual matters. If you suffer, I suffer. If you are not safe, I am not safe. There is no way for me to truly be happy if you are suffering. The understanding of interbeing is very important. It helps us to remove the illusion of loneliness and transform the anger that comes from the feeling of separation. Nothing exists separately from anything else. Everything and everyone is a part of the whole. I need you, and you need me, because we are one. We belong to each other. We're all made up of the same stardust. And once we begin to embody and live out that understanding in our lives, we can transform ourselves and this faith into one where we welcome people in as the first step, but where we know that the true purpose of this beloved community is to fill the deep needs and longings of our souls. So I would offer to you that together we can make this a place where all are welcome. And if we answer the deeper call of our longing, we can also make it a place where all belong. Our closing hymn is a new one, and I'm going to sing it through once for you, and you can remain seated for that. It's not in any hymnal. I just like it. There are words in your order of service. I need you, you need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of one body. It is our will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Friends, I invite you now to rise, embody your spirit. We're going to sing this one through 2 times. I need you, you need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of one body. It is our will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You you. I invite you to join